I think it's going now. As long as I don't run over this cable too much.
Should I turn that audio off?
I think it's fine.
Yeah. Alright.
It's not bothering me. Hello, all. Welcome to... Yeah, we're live.
Oh, go.
Welcome to the Napa Jordan Peterson podcast. This is our sixth attempt at an episode. Tonight, we're going to try to talk about what we usually talk about in the weekly group, because we have a Napa Jordan Peterson 12 Rules of Life meetup. We meet every week. We've been every week since May 2018, and it's now 2019. So that's kind of unique and special.
Shit,
and
yeah.
We've been doing the biblical series, which, if you've ever watched it, it's not necessarily the most easiest thing in the world. Are you guys getting much from episode 2 where we are?
Well, it's interesting. You know, we're moving through the biblical lecture. What's the name of it exactly? The psychological significance of the biblical stories or something like that?
Yeah, this is Genesis.
So I'm kind of taking that perspective. You know, I'm looking at it from... Because he's talking about the psychological perspective specifically.
Would you consider yourself an atheist?
No, definitely not.
Really? Okay, so you already found maybe some value in the Bible then?
Well, you know, I've always found value in the Bible. You know, I'm wondering, what's your...
I don't know, because I'm usually coming from the more atheistic, agnostic side personally.
Really, you describe yourself as an atheist?
I identify as agnostic now, but I started my let's say my primary education in Christian schools, and it was a lot of Sunday school, so a lot of hand waving. But you know, I had a very inquisitive mind, so I tried to ask a lot of questions. And of course, at Sunday school, it's that level where they're not really willing to go say, no, this is what happened, this is the story. So there's no metaphors or psychological patterns going on there. So I ended up becoming an atheist for a while, and then in my early 20s I decided to take Pascal's wager, and I said, you know what, if there is a God, I might as well act like there's a God. You know, the worst case scenario is there is one. I probably should carry myself in a way that you know, is
now whose wager?
Respectful.
I've never heard of that before. Whose wager?
Pascal.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, he's like, well, we'll never figure out if there is a God or if there's not a God. But what's the worst? What's the best? You know, what's the worst case that or how can we carry ourselves and come up with the best outcome? We're trying to optimize for the best outcome, and the best outcome is to assume there is a God. Because if you assume there's not a God, you do whatever you want.
It's like covering your bets.
Yeah, exactly. It's covering your asses, hedging your bets.
Well, I don't know, but you know one thing I do know about God is that there is a God. He's a poker player, for sure. Then the poker versus chess argument, he's a poker player. I
think poker is based on faith, and faith is very related to God, right? So I think there's definitely links between God and poker, so you're not terribly off there.
So do you want to hear it? Pascal argues that a rational person should live as though God exists and seek to believe in God. If God does not actually exist, such a person will have only a finite loss, some pleasures, luxury, etc., whereas he stands to receive infinite gains as represented by eternity in heaven and avoid infinite losses, eternity in hell.
You're just reading that off your phone, aren't you?
Jesus, yeah. That's literally what I'm doing here.
So yeah, I think that's right on with what you said. That's interesting. I like getting multiple perspectives too, because you really get a rounder. Yeah. Well, and his was a little more. That was a little darker. That was a little bit
more precise, as Jordan Peterson would preach. Right?
It's just, that's a good point, right? It's just whether our life, our afterlife, is a serious bet, but not that many people take it seriously, do they?
Well, I mean, should you? I mean, that's the big question. It's a huge bet, right? If you're a poker player, do you want to take the afterlife seriously? I can see that there's a lot of people, especially in your later years of your life, you're going to want to take it seriously. So, like they say, more people will get more religious as they get older, so to speak. You know, you get closer to that deadline. You're like, well, maybe I should change my actions. And that way, when I cross that finish line, I was really rooting for you. I swear to God.
Isn't that the safe bet? I mean,
that's what I'm kind of arguing.
The easy path is, yeah.
Well, I think it's better to make that wager earlier, I think. I would hope. But I know there's I was looking into something completely else. Have you ever heard of victim blaming? Where you might blame the victim of a rape. It's because they're wearing really attractive clothes. They made themselves a target. And I was reading the psychology behind it. It's where people try to say, well, it's her fault. And it's because those people are seeking what's called a just world. Like, they believe in karma. Like, everything should be balanced out. Like, there should be a reason for things to happen. And I think one of the valuable things of Peterson is that he kind of lays out this framework that the world is basically just random chaos that's out there to hurt us to a certain degree. And I think he's saying that if we carry ourselves in a certain way, we can bring order to the chaos, and we can at least look for some relief in it. And we can carry ourselves in a way that not only do we help ourselves, but we help others too. I think the biblical lectures, I mean, being agnostic, believing that, okay, there could be a God, let's say.
Sure.
I forgot what Peterson actually says about his exact words of what he believes how God is.
He acts
as
if.
Yeah, right? He acts as if there is a God. So maybe it's something along those lines. Yeah. But, like, hearing the psychological explanations behind the stories of the Bible, like, if someone watched human behavior, came up with these stories, and these stories rang so true that we decided to not only write them down, but decided to carry them to our children. It was important enough. And when the kingdom crumbled, that we actually passed it on to the next kingdom. Like, it was something worth saving in the apocalyptic scenario.
Yeah.
That there must be something there and something of value. And being agnostic, like, completely write off the Bible because there's a bunch of poppycock, you'd think. But hearing Peterson explain it, you can kind of say, okay, well, if these are psychological patterns, maybe these stories, there's something I can learn there, maybe there's wisdom there, and I can take that to my life and apply it and see what I can do with them to help understand things. And me and Dallas talked a lot last week about, like, patterns. Like, you talked about the night stuff. You imagine, was it?
Yeah, I thought more about that, actually.
Go for it.
That's I totally agree with you there on, the biblical lectures and all that. I kind of feel that, too. By the way, where'd you get this water? What is this? Are we handing out waters around here? And did I miss the water card?
Well, you see, all the online streaming services we're on can only drink non-alcoholic beverages. So
I see. We had to have the sober ones.
We're all drinking either mineral water or regular water on camera.
Is there more mineral waters?
Yes.
What's up? I thought this... I'm a guest here. I don't mean to... I mean, actually, no, don't worry about it. I mean, I don't... But and by the way, I wanted to also say I'm trying. I apologize. I'm not trying to ignore anything. Everybody. I'm working on finding us some questions, some live viewer questions that maybe we can answer on air. And so every once in a while, I might be popping down here to do, but I'm not tuned out of the. I'm not just text messaging friends here. This is important.
Oh, you're not text messaging. You're doing your homework.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a just in time sort of guy rather than a preparatory, proactive kind of guy, but so anyway. Oh yeah.
To be honest, I'm the same way. Go ahead.
Okay, but I kind of brought this. I just was working this idea off the top of my head, and I kind of brought it here, and it was really rough when it first came out, and so I kind of kept it and kept chewing away at it, and I think that's important to bring up too, because that's how good ideas are actually hatched. Is you carry them with you for a little while. But so, I was thinking, see if this works for you. And this is like attempt number 2.
So you've been testing it out.
Right. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So what about the idea of using the night sky as a metaphor for what's written in your mind? Right? Like, do you ever think about what the inside of the top of your skull is like? I mean, nobody's ever thought about that before, but if you imagined it, it wouldn't be very attractive to imagine, but you could use it. Like, have you ever seen a drawing in a biology textbook or a psychology textbook that shows the parts of the brain? That's essentially what they're doing. They're laying it flat. But our brain is shaped like the most beautiful object in the entire universe, which is a sphere. I mean, not our brain, but our skull, our heads, our beings are essentially shaped like a sphere or some version of a sphere, right? So did you ever think about, like, the night? What if you use the night sky? What if there was a light? Your light shined out through your brain and left this imprint on the inside of your skull, but that was the night sky. What would that look like? What would be written up there?
I'm not sure it has like a necessarily like 1-to-1 ratio. Like on a network, you can address things like the locations of things, and it's even though the network might have certain addresses, it not necessarily has to do with anything of the physical location. So like addressing and location are not necessarily the same thing. So even though our brains like represent the world, let's say, it not necessarily means the position. There can be different ways to look at our brain, so to speak. Okay. So, like you said, if you look at your brain as maybe the different systems, and
that's a great question. How do you look at your brain?
I don't look at my brain. Simple question. How about you? You look at your brain?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think neither of us look at our brains. Do you look at your brain?
Well, I think I do. And I think Peterson, I think I directly look at my brain on so many different levels. And I think Peterson's making that same argument when he says that, oh shit, I just had it. It was the quote. It's from this lecture series. He talks about how we move from being a purely biological animal to being a culturally civilized animal. And in doing that, we learn to do things like read books and write and pass knowledge on through communication. But we did that on the backs of the evolutionary circuitry that was already established, right? And he gives one really good metaphor, and he says that eating fruit of the tree, what we mapped to that circuitry was knowledge, because if you knew where the food was, that was like really advantageous, and your people survived better. If you knew how to find food, if you knew how to track the herds. So over time, the same circuitry that eating was a part of, knowledge also became a part of.
Yeah, because you've had more nutrients, the smarter you, the healthier you'd be, so the more you could learn, so to speak, right?
And then that's it starts to compound in terms of the different disciplines and sciences that fact seems to line up with. Which is why I bring that up, because I think that's what Peterson's trying to say in the introduction to the second biblical lecture series.
And he talks a lot too about these instinctual things that are in the base root of our brain that are always going to be a part of our being that we kind of have to defeat. The biblical lectures themselves are about the psychology and extracting, the metaphor from the actual the literature. And the literature is kind of these stories that are easy to retell and memorable because of the way they're told. And so, like I said, there's this metaphor underpinning these stories. And like I said, like the tree of knowledge, you take this apple from, and this knowledge we get from the apple, Peterson says, is the realization that we're vulnerable. And because we know that we're vulnerable, we have the notion of good and evil. We know what's good or wrong because I know you're vulnerable, because I know that I'm vulnerable. And if I use that knowledge to hurt you, then I'm evil. I'm acting on the evil impulse, right? So we want to do actions that are in everyone's best interest, right? We want a win-win. Like he said earlier, win-win or no deal.
Humanity. That's the essence of humanity, right? We all want that win-win.
Or no deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So ipso facto, I think I do look at my brain.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I self-reflect. I will say that. Like, I look at my actions at the end of the day and be like, could I have done something better? Was I too emotional? Was I too passionate about it? Am I spending too much time caring about things I shouldn't care about? What should I care about? I mean, Peterson also talks a lot about, like, having aim and direction and what we should spend our lives on. We really have to answer that questions for ourselves. So maybe that is looking at your brain as far as you bringing it up. Do you think that's what you mean by looking at your brain, or...?
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's everything. You must look at your brain somehow. It's interesting. Okay, so we want to pair this to the meetup. So I'm just going to drop this and let you do with it what you will. But like all this talking about the consciousness and stuff, I didn't get it. And that's why I'm dropping it for you, because like I don't even know what we talked about during the meetup.
Yeah, during the meetup, we actually had like half of the room talk about Jonathan Haidt, and let me look it up real fast. Jonathan Haidt, the happiness hypothesis. And half the room was really educated on it, and they were talking about id, the logos, and a couple other concepts. And the right half of the room, which I and Dallas and I think Garrett were in, we're having trouble following along. I think Casey was talking about kind of like out-of-body experiences where he felt like he was watching himself carry out behaviors where he necessarily wasn't in control.
Well, we were talking about the man riding the elephant.
Yeah, that reminds me too. Yeah, there was, I guess, this thing about something about Vedics and the knower cannot be known, and the man riding the elephant, which is the ego on top of the id, that one pulls you into temptation. Like the elephant is kind of like your behavioral patterns in it. Like you have these set of behavioral patterns and you can do what you do, but you're still like someone on top of the elephant that's observing and can kind of maybe direct the elephant a little bit, but he still has to contend with the temptations of the elephant.
Consciousness, you can influence the elephant.
Yeah, hopefully one of these podcasts will get someone from that side of the room on. We're working on it.
Yeah.
But right now you just got us, so we can't really speak about that too in depth. I don't think, at least we're the weaker group to speak to it. So why are we doing the biblical series? Do you know why?
Well, that was Casey's call, and we decided to do it because that was part of what drew like half of us into the group in the first place. It seemed like.
Yeah, the biblical series is definitely intriguing, and it is more Peterson. It doesn't. It feels like it's complementary material. It helps reinforce his 12 rules for life. And
it's a foundation.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear how these stories can be used to explain the world around us, or like Dallas said, find patterns in our life that we can, point to a common language, so to speak, to easily explain things. And that's what the biblical series, I think, really.
I'm not trying to be rude, but you got to try to pass this captcha code. One of you guys got to try to pass this captcha code. I can't pass it.
Are you a robot?
I am not a robot.
I can't pass it. I can't. Look at it. You click it and it changes.
You're fucked, dude. If you're a robot, you're fucked.
Click it and it changes. I can't. I'm a robot.
Oh, you're a robot, dude.
Dude,
your account's suspended, okay?
It's because I messed it up so many times already. I tried to override it by doing the...
It's because you are a robot. Have you ever considered the fact that you may be a robot?
So it's either know or it can't be
This
known.
is my argument against, what do they call it? Artificial intelligence. Never going to happen because it's like, technology never does this. Technology is just, it's still the same thing. It's still just fucking power, circuit boards, and light bulbs.
It's a game of
That's all it is.
Technology
They seriously,
good enough.
they can't. Think about this. We're still doing the same things the original computers did. Email, file storage, documents, exact same thing. Nothing's changed in how many years? Okay, that was the last. It's been fucking flat.
You're pissing off Ryan, by the way.
No, not at all.
Technology.
I'm
just frustrated
because I want to jump in.
Go. What do you got? That's my argument. Wait, how has technology improved? I'll be civil. I
don't think technology is anything new, and we're kind of fooling ourselves if we think it's anything new.
So you agree with him even more. You going back to like aqueducts. You're saying that they had better technology in ancient society than we do now.
I'm saying
that you're making the pyramid argument.
I'm saying that if we study history, there is repetition. Like, it's not that like the internet. The internet has now put us global communication at a cost that's close to free.
Yeah.
Like internet service providers might pay a fee or whatever. But anyways, it's pretty close. And with that internet service provider, we're able to communicate all over the world. Right. But it's not like anything's new. Like, we've been able to communicate. Like, I could write a piece of snail mail and send it to someone across the world.
It's faster now.
Yeah, it's just sped up. And, like, all the problems that happened in snail mail are now happening a lot faster. And we're asking
a lot more. Faster and more. And we're asking... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I agree with you. See, he's not mad. He agrees with me completely.
So what happened before snail mail?
Well, there's other forms of communication. I mean, I guess the Pony Express was the first revolution in that.
But before that, yeah.
Deliver physical goods and communication was just much, much slower. Like, you're only going to deliver a communication to your mom when you actually visit your mom.
So that's what I think. I think that's step one. I think the jump from there to where we are today is going to be the next jump, too. It's going to be like really distant.
I'm not convinced.
Well, I think now that we can communicate so fast, we're kind of in our teenage years now of like, what do we do with this? How do we do this? What are the rules for this? It's like we've been given a new toy that we're all playing with, and we're trying to figure that out. Like, what's acceptable? What's the norm?
True.
Yeah. How do we do this and not piss everyone else? How do we do this in a way that propels everyone, makes everyone better than they were before? And those are all really good questions. Like, is it good that everyone's developing the narcissistic habits? Is it good that everyone wants to kill themselves because everyone's bragging about what they're doing online?
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, I feel that the internet's a tool, and with every tool, there's the good and the bad. Like, with a hammer, I can kill people, and with a hammer, I can build houses for people. It's a tool. It can be used for good or bad, and it's really that the apple we took from Eden, the knowledge that we can hurt others. It's up to us, our individuals, and if we follow Peterson's message, and we can all strengthen our own heart, and you realize that it's up to us. It's not up to anyone else. Like, there's only so much we can control in the world. And we can make the decisions ourselves to, hey, I want to improve this world. I want to make this world a better place for not just me, but for everyone. And by helping everyone, it's going to help me. So it could be the most selfish reasons we could choose that. Because if you don't, like, if you're meh, you take Nietzsche's stance, God's dead, There's no reason to improve anything because nothing matters. Well, you might as well put a bullet in your head because nothing matters. There's no meaning to life. There's no reason to continue. And I think that's why Peterson's message makes a lot of sense to me. And of course, if you get so bitter about life and the randomness and the hurt that it comes with life, there's this existence of suffering that you wish that no one else suffered. You get in that downward spiral to the point where you hit the point where you're like a serial killer. You're like, I'm going to save everyone. I'm going to relieve all your burden by putting a bullet between your noggins. That's not good either. So I think the best outcome for everyone is to focus on a positive message that, hey, look, if I fix myself, maybe I can help others that are around me. And so let's not worry about others and let's just focus on ourselves. And that way we can make a better world. You want a better world, Dallas?
Yeah.
Why?
It's for the same reasons you're saying, I think it's how we work best, and people need to come together and do the best for each other. I think it's, makes sense.
And that's probably why we're going to the meetup, right? We like hearing what each other says and listen to our stories and experiences of how we live our life. What Peterson lays his framework out. Is his framework working? Is his framework not? Is Marx really wrong?
Right.
We have a Marxist in our group, which makes it a very interesting group.
Comes back to Marxism frequently.
Oh no, I'm thinking about changing. I think he's got it. I think it's right.
Who?
The Marxist. I think Marxism is right. I think our Marxist is right. I think democratic socialism is the way to go. And I think.
Do I know you anymore? Who are you?
But you just need a benevolent leader.
Yeah, right? That's right.
You need somebody who is perfect.
We need somebody who is benevolent and strong.
Maybe Peterson's trying to lead us.
There's the problem.
Right.
Peterson's leaning to Marxism because he's doing the reverse psychology thing. He's telling us Marxism is so bad, so we all become Marxists, right?
That's
okay,
right.
Fine, but you still need somebody to lead you.
Yeah, they'll find somebody, right? Because if he tells enough people, then enough people become Marxists because he's doing the reverse psychology. That a leader will emerge because there'll be a movement.
Well, why don't we all just pray to Peterson, right? He's our new cult leader.
Think about how hard the Marxists push against praying to Peterson. They're going to cause people to start praying to Marx. They're going to start making people pray to something because everybody's talking about praying to somebody.
Well, one of the things Peterson does say is he talks about the environmental people. If as soon as you believe that we know everything, then we're the ones in control, and then we're hurting the environment, and we need to stop hurting the environment because then we're going to be out of a place to live. Where another view of that could be is Mother Nature is going to be here long after we are. Mm-hmm. Even though we wipe ourselves out, Mother Nature is not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that it's a struggle. It's a battle against Mother Nature. We have to learn enough about her so that we can negotiate a living here. And whether it's on this planet or others.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully Elon will get us off to Mars one day, right?
Occupy Mars.
That's right.
Mr. Science Theory 3000.
Is that the thing? Occupy Mars? Did the camera move? I thought all of a sudden I realized I'm off frame.
You moved. You moved the audience.
That's right. I moved into tears of my story. You want to hear a story that moved you to tears? Nah, you guys wouldn't like it. Go ahead.
Leave a comment if you'd like to hear Dallas.
Leave a comment for...
How do I leave a comment?
You go on our YouTube
if
channel.
even we can't leave a comment, is that where it is? YouTube?
No, I'm just fucking.
So, are we live on YouTube or live on...
Yeah, we're live on Twitch, we're live on YouTube, and theoretical of Facebook, but I'm not quite sure how that works.
So how do we find viewers live on Twitch? Do we have to boost our post to the main channel?
We have to say blockchain.
What's blockchain? Is that cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Does that work? Blockchain? They say my phone listens. They say Google's listening to me and marketing to me based on what I'm saying.
Oh, you have an Android phone, so of course.
Well, then blockchain.
Do you want
I'm going to kill the president. I'm going to kill the president.
Hey, now, the Secret Service will find you, and they will talk to you.
Trump's fired them all. He's got the smallest Secret Service department in the history of the Secret Service.
I thought you were going to say smallest hands.
He has that, too. There's a direct correlation between...
a hell of a golf stroke.
That's right. Trump's doing the same thing as Peterson. It's reverse psychology.
Definitely.
It's all the
four-dimensional chess, Dallas. It's different than reverse psychology.
That's right.
Peterson can't play four-dimensional chess.
I would definitely agree on the stroke part of what you said.
All right. So, Dallas, why do you come to this meetup?
I come to this meetup because I am... Man, it's a good question because there's a reason I started coming and there's a reason that I come now. And so which one do you want?
Both. Let's hear it.
Both. I'll give you one. You got to pick.
Okay. Yeah. Well, why did you start the meetup?
Whatever you feel.
Why did I start the meetup? That's the third question altogether.
Yeah, well...
You know why I started the meetup? That's an interesting story, actually. I started the meetup to get closer to my brother, which is also how I discovered Jordan Peterson.
I've never seen him at a meetup.
Yeah, I know. He's never come. I started this on the off chance that he would want to go and we could hang out.
All right, let's start a petition today to get Dallas's brother to come. What's your brother's name? I don't even know your
Brody.
brother's name. Brody.
Yeah.
Brody. Come on, man. Where are you? We're looking for you.
Yeah.
So he's a Peterson fan. So he's a Peterson fan, right?
This whole time I've been lying to you guys. I'm a Russian astronaut. And I come here to tell you a message. I have been to space for the longest period of time. 7 2/4 years. I am God. I am God. This is what happens when you go to space long enough. You come back God.
Without reducing 2/4 to 1/2.
Actually, you know this funny. It's funny for another. No, it's a joke. In space, math is not language of space. They just discovered this. It's amazing. So many more astronauts now. Turns out math #1 disqualifier. It's very hard. Math is very hard. But no. Yes. Everyone, I'm Yuri. I'm a Russian cosmonaut. And,
everyone, welcome Miri to the show. So, Miri, how long have you been into Peterson?
Well, you know, we get all the news channels on the space station. And I remember when he had his trouble with, you know, what was it? In American school and, you know, the what do you call them? The pupils who learn the education, they come, they have the, what do we, in Russia we call, backpack. You know, they...
You know, I'm hearing voices. I'm going to go kill those voices. Since our wonderful background music station has...
Oh, yes, this is... So how long you guys do podcasts for, huh? This is first stop since I get back from space.
Sometimes it feels like too long.
Yeah, maybe 29 minutes or so.
Yes.
I think you're right.
But who counting, right? It's joke on space station. We go, who counting, right? They go, you have 1.5 more hours oxygen if you better fix oxygen filter. And they go, but who counting? We have big laugh. Oh, Yuri nearly died right there.
Everybody says I'm counting.
Everyone is counting. Yeah. Yes, it's not funny actually. We talk about later.
Everybody counts.
Ground control not take astronaut life seriously. I mean, no, I do not know why. It's actually a big problem. That's why I'm here. I'm promoting our hashtag on Twitter. It is you know, care about the astronauts. Astronauts first. Okay, there is a astronaut gender pay gap, if you will. If I can put it in your audience's language.
Yeah? What's the division?
There is the management and there's the astronaut. And they treat us actually like scum. You think we know better than monkey. You know, actually, one Kazaki astronaut, you know, part of Russian space program, get paid as much as original monkey. Now, to be fair, original monkey, he make a lot of money.
Well, and how many monkeys?
He's very highly trained.
How many monkeys are you going to find that are going to be able to fly a spacecraft?
Probably just one.
Exactly.
You got to pay the appropriate amounts. I mean, otherwise, the monkey's going to take another job somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He had a very good job at the factory down the road. They're going to make him the manager of the whole assembly line.
The whole banana assembly line?
No, it's very good. Russian Kazaki, not this. It's a very. It's you know. It's like your African. No, just kidding. Whoa! Oh my God! I just did it. I'm sorry. I'm not practiced. I'm not an actor, and so I was just going with it. Okay, I'm breaking character there.
Do you like enjoying that? Like doing like impersonations or like was that like an impression?
I like to do it for fun. Do you guys do stuff like that?
I think it'd be kind of fun, like doing improv. You know, kind of like making up stories. And
do you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I like improv. I
love the idea of it, but it's hard to find people to do it with.
Well, you know, I was totally against it. I thought it was a really weird thing, and then like my wife, she was in art school, and like Pixar is going to do this presentation in art school for like every week for 8 weeks. So I sneak in. I'm like, yes, I'm an art school student. So we went to these Pixar presentations. They talked about how important the writing process or the improv is to the writing process. Apparently, they had some type of format, and they realized that improv is like a really creative exercise. Like you can never say no in improv. That's like one of the rules. Yeah. So whatever this guy comes up with, I have to integrate into my story and respond and mess with his story. So it's like this interesting like troll back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And after I learned a bit more about it, I got a lot more respect for it and how difficult it is and how important it is to like storytelling and different creative endeavors.
Yes, and my beer is over here.
You mean your mineral water?
Do we have more of those mineral waters?
Root beer. That's it.
Well, I think improv is a great thing.
That's right.
I think it's fun. I like doing charades. I like playing cards. Cards is kind of... Have you guys heard of cardistry? I love cardistry.
No, I've never heard of cardistry.
Cardistry?
Oh, yeah. It's where you take cards and you like...
That up?
You know... No, you know how people like... This is like the original, the quintessential, you know... Right?
Like magic tricks? I mean, that's what...
Well, it's not magic. I mean, you're just... They're like shuffling cards in you know, creative ways. You know, like they're like... Like the original would have been, you know how people used to, like in the old days, they throw cards. Like that was a big thing. You know, people could throw cards.
I can only think of Gambit from the X-Men.
Exactly. That's where that comes from. Yeah, it was a social meme, if you will.
He was the OG.
Yeah.
So why do you come to the Jordan Peterson meetup?
I mean, since we started doing the biblical lectures, specifically, because I have zero exposure to the Bible. And I want to hear all about it. I don't think it has any weight in my life, and that's fine. You know, like it's as fine as I think it has weight in other people's lives. I think that's totally great and valid, and I have nothing against that.
So how much weight does it have in your life?
Yeah, now that you've heard some of the...
We got to put a number on it, or what?
Zero. Absolutely
really?
Zero.
Wow.
And now that you've heard some of the psychological stories behind it, does it help a little bit, or is it just still at the zero? Or is it still too early to tell?
I think... I don't know. I think I want it to... I want it to mean what it means to everybody that it means something to. Like, that's great. Like, I'm not...
You don't want to, like, preach what it means to others?
I'm not detracting from what others gain from it. Like, I don't want to... I don't want to step on it for anybody. Like, it's fine. You know, I don't... But for me personally, like, I don't know. I still need to... I still see it as a ethical, like, morality 1.0 kind of thing, and we can learn the lessons that are derived from it. I think we can detail it, and we can figure things out, and we can move on from there. Like, I think it's an unnecessary remnant of the past.
It's like another intellectual tool that's like in the species, you know, and it has utility, but just like many other tools have utility.
Yeah, it was required to get us here. It's not required to get us from here to the next. But it is required still.
Well,
okay, so it's a little more than 0% then, right?
Yeah,
like 1%.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a stepping stone.
There's so many great works of the past, and we're only going to be exposed to a small fraction of them, and the small fraction we are exposed to, we have to decide which ones we're going to take with us, which ones we're going to tell our kids.
Sure.
Yeah. Which ones are of value, and like we got to
the fittest stories.
Like continue to seek the truth and find the rod. I think that's a pattern that Peterson goes over a lot.
How do you do that though? What's the practical application of doing that?
Well, yeah, it's actively seeking the truth. That means like.
What does that mean though? That doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, hearing something and then thinking about your world, like, is this what this guy's telling me? Does this actually work? And maybe it's a question of when does it work and when doesn't work, and then you find something that works some of the times, and you're like, okay, well, that leaves the question of when does it work, and it's like you have to figure where it goes in your toolbox, so to say, like all those patterns we were talking about last week, and you got to figure out when to use which tool, and you end up with a bunch of tools, and then other things though is like you listen to and like, you know what? I don't think this works at all. And in the few cases it does work, it's so rare and so at the edge that it's not worth remembering. Like, I don't need to tell my kid this. Like, you know, it's stuff we know, or we listen to, and after thinking about it, they're like, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something in my gut that tells me that this is wrong. And maybe that's not the rational way to approach it, but at least you have your solar plexus is telling you to search for that rot. Like, it might not always be true, and you got to figure out when. And, you know, your toolbox is going to get heavy. So figure out how many tools you can fit in there, and maybe not keep all of them.
But I'm a reverse psychology believing, Marxist, kind of guy who is into reductionist thinking, and it's like, how can you know the truth? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me what you're saying. It's like, you can't. How do you listen for something you can't hear?
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing. I don't think we could ever know the truth, but it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's like you have to try to find it, even though we never will. Every little fact we learn throws us back into chaos. So every time we try to organize ourselves, we have the tail of the snake eating itself. It's like...
Then what are you saying? You're saying nothing. I mean, it's just... You're talking in circles.
Yeah, it is kind of circular, but that's life. Like, the more tools...
No, it's not. So life is directional. Life is like you shoot an arrow and you hit a goal.
Okay, but you have like a toolbox with you I was talking about, and depends on how you use your toolbox and how effective your toolbox is at conquering that chaos that's thrown at you continuously. Like, how it's like a competence thing, how good is your toolbox? And depending on that, it's whether or not you reach your goals or not. Like, you can set something out, like, I want to be a millionaire, right? You put it out there. But if you're actually going to reach it, most people don't reach it, right? You're only lucky. And if you reach it, you're really screwed, because what now? You need a new goal. And, like, how... If you're that capable of, reaching 1 million, are you capable of reaching 10, 100 million? It's a huge question. We don't know. But even if you fall short of that, you're on this journey, and you learn so much about yourself, and what you can do and what you can't do, what your limitations are, where your blind spots are. And, that way, the first step of a problem is identifying the problem. Like, hey, look, I'm not going to be a millionaire because I'm horrible with money. I keep spending it, Just identifying it is the first problem of solving it. And there's plenty of problems in the world, and no one's going to solve the problem unless they want to solve the problem. Like, if someone's homeless... you can't do a whole lot. It's going to take a lot of energy and effort to get them to not want to be homeless, even because they have almost like a mental illness that's working on them that makes them want to stay in their current state. They're hurt. They have a lot of no one to trust. And I know Dr. Drew's talked about it takes 15 interactions with a single homeless person to just get them to take a shower.
Oh my gosh!
At a homeless shelter. So it takes a long time to rebuild that trust and to get them to do things. So
it's really rough.
Like, you can't help people that don't want to be helped. And that's one of the toughest things that I think of. Is we can only control the things we can control, which is usually ourselves, right? And so by identifying the problem and realizing we have some control over ourselves in regards to that problem, then we actually have to put the work in. And I think that's the whole tough problem of the 12 rules of life is, like, they're all so obvious. Stand up straight, shoulders back. But how many of us are actually doing it right now at this moment? It's stuff we know, but it's...
Jordan Peterson disciple.
We have to keep reminding ourselves, and we have to keep practicing.
That's right. We're doing it. You do it too. Sit up straight right now.
Sit up straight, shoulders back.
Do it.
Let me change to better posture. There we go.
I use gorilla posture. Look into it. There's different postures out there.
Well, yeah, you get on...
Drag your knuckles.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have,
Joe Rogan was talking about posture the other day.
Yeah?
Wasn't he? I don't know. You listen to Joe Rogan a lot. I guess I was taking our audience's knowledge of that for granted. But
was it one of the MMA episodes?
No. What was he talking about? I can't remember. Yeah, he was saying that he has horrible posture. He's talking about somebody. I think it was a comedian. It was definitely a comedian, because that's mostly what I listen to. I don't listen to Joe Rogan very much.
So what can we do to improve our posture?
Sit back with our shoulders straight up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's right.
At least this... We talked about this earlier.
Easy,
before
right?
the podcast. We were talking about projecting the person we want others to think we are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to, play this role of a fraud for us to, progress to become that fraud. And I know that a lot of successful people feel like they have, a fraud syndrome, right? They feel like they are a fraud.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like fake it till you make it in reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of the posture stuff is that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very.
I feel like the
wise words.
Answer to,
did I say that already? You got lots of wise words.
I'm just bullshitting back what Peterson, just regurgitating him to a certain extent. And that's the hard part, is you got to keep listening to him so you could memorize some of the things and his language and lingo and his terms.
Yeah.
But you got to continue to look for the rot. Like, you know.
Is that true? Do you think that's true?
Do I think what exactly?
That you have to listen to it over and over again to kind of like.
Practice makes perfect. But the question is like, not only do I repeat it, but every time I listen to it, I also look for the rot. Like,
what do you
where
think?
could he possibly be wrong? Like, if you ever listen to his PragerU video, you realize he's pretty much preaching that, you know, Marxism is bad and conservatism is the only way to go, which is really strange for someone that's talking about having ideas like, let's listen to each other. I believe we all have something to say. Why shouldn't we believe that Marxists have something of value to say to us? It's very conflicting.
That's silly. That's stupid.
What's a weird? What, you open? Which one's stupid? That's the question. You kind of contradict
yourself. You can always listen to ideas.
Exactly. I think that's the stronger concept of the two. It's like, so why shouldn't we listen to Marx's ideas? Why, you know, if it's so bad, shouldn't we be able to know enough about it and strike it down? So, I just think that.
No, I don't think so. I think that's a fool's errand.
It's a fool's errand to kind of like negotiate what's already happened.
Well, you're opening the door to needing to know a little bit about, like, literally every single thing. You say something that absolute.
You're right. Philosophers have to build an argument step by step, and when you're talking about these like high level things, you have to build everything underneath it. So you're a sophist if you skip all those steps and just jump to the conclusions and say, "Hey, believe the conclusion because I said so."
Right.
It's not necessarily helpful, and it leaves a lot of homework to the viewer. And I think,
well, it opens a logical door to like, okay, actually, here's a good analogy. Should everyone like watch or like be capable of watching Two Girls, One Cup?
No, no one should watch that. Period. I know the answer to that one.
Yeah, so it's like, what's the worst thing ever written? Should they read that?
What, the worst thing ever written?
Yeah, what's the worst thing you could possibly read? It'd be something along the same lines, right? Actually, never mind. This is too deductive of an argument to be interesting for video.
Deductive or reductive or?
Yeah, reductive, microwaved, half baked.
I don't know. It's just like at some point,
mostly baked.
Yeah,
it's good to be aware of the extremes so you don't end up in one of them.
Yeah, I don't know why I took offense to that. I think it's because it's an emotional issue for me. But emotions are interesting. Emotions are really powerful.
Well, it's just where you can tell what you're passionate about, and like, it's a scary place when you enter fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you can feel something in your gut. Like, I feel like capitalism is really strongly true and should be true. So when someone challenges capitalism, like, I might not always be able to defend it, but like I can get really passionate and upset when I can't. Like when you know something's true and you can't articulate it in words. Non-understanding's hell is one of my favorite lines from one of our meetups. I think was it one of the things you said?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. Being old now, it's hard to remember. Non-understanding is hell is what I wrote down. And of course, I don't write down credits of who said what in the group, but I think that's the reason why I come to the group. It's good just to hear whatever other people think of the material, and
And I cannot wholeheartedly disagree with that.
Yeah, it's like just hearing what Dallas thinks or what questions he has. Like, he has questions I've never thought of, and that's why it's always good when Dallas interjects.
I don't like interjecting.
Why not?
Because it's no fun. Sometimes it's fun. I shouldn't say that. This conversation's hit a wall for me.
I'm sorry, and I didn't write down a whole lot for tonight. And I think that it's just because the biblical series too is so hard. So
it's tough.
I think
it's tough to talk about.
The podcast we have, why we are in this trench, the biblical series, and that's the other thing too, is our group slowed down so much. Like we used to do, like we were going to do one biblical series per week. But we realized after doing like the first 2.5 hours of the first one in one night that we're going to do 3 minutes at a time. We're going to try the other extreme now. And we're going through that experiment. And so far, so good. But we might spend the rest of the year on the biblical series like episode 2.
4 or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we at some point we do want to do the 12 rules, mix them up for new people that are more interested in the 12 rules than that. So our Peterson's not so focused.
So come on down. We got free cookies.
Do we now?
Every week.
How come I haven't seen these
As
cookies?
long as you bring them, they're free.
They're in my car. I don't. You get free cookies your first meeting.
Now, if I bring them and sell them,
also they're not free fresh cookies.
Whatever cookies
they're purely free.
Whatever cookies you bring are free.
Yeah. Free to yourself, but you can charge others, right?
Yes. If you bring yourself cookies, you have free cookies.
Yeah. That's right. That's true too.
Here's a good question. What do you guys think about? Should we grow the group, or think it's a good size? I mean, should we actively look for new members, or is it just going to be new problems?
I think it's a good size. I mean, I think it's a good size right now. I think if it got bigger, it'd be. I mean, it's already like half the group can take up all of the discussion.
Yeah, and the physical space we have. We usually have average about 7-8 people show up a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the trouble where we're at now too. Is like, do we really want to scale more? Do we want to make it more appealing? That was an interesting question I had because, like, there's this innate gut reaction, like things should be bigger. They should continue to grow. This is good stuff. Everyone should be talking about this. But at the same time, there are detriments to growing and scaling. Like, money becomes more involved because then we need to rent a space.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's good to meet new people. I'm definitely excited to meet new people, hear what they have to say and what they have to contribute. We had a couple new members recently that have stuck with us a couple weeks, and a couple new members that showed up once and haven't come again. But we also have members that show up like once a month or once every 3 months too. Yeah. So I know it's kind of rare for a Peterson meetup to meet every week. So we are kind of an odd duck, and we do know that people drive from an hour away to come to talk to us. So
we had somebody show up that they couldn't make it to their regular meetup location, and they made it to ours.
Different meetup?
Nice.
Yeah, the Sacramento one.
Yeah, I'd always love to hear what other groups are doing, and it's always tough to tell if we're doing the right thing or.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Cool. So you guys want to wrap it up? I don't think we have anything else to go over.
Yeah, I think we're done.
We're here. We made an appearance.
And we recorded it.
And we didn't have anything to drink except for everybody but me.
Except for the mineral water.
Yep, just water.
All right, guys. Well, that's the Napa Jordan Peterson podcast episode 6.
Last. Is that what? I thought that was my last. I got another one.
Go for it. You got something else?
Oh yeah, I have really bad hay fever tonight. Just so everybody knows. All right.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are feeling.
It's
that
not
great.
contagious. Is that what you meant?
No.
Oh. It's really bad. That's my last line.
Did you have a good time tonight?
Yeah. Did you guys have a good time?
I did.
How would you rate it on a scale of red to violet?
Pink.
Oh, wow. Really? Interesting.
Green.
I'm going to go with red hot, baby. Hot. This podcast is hot.
Gotcha. We got to have like some wings to try or something. Right? Red hot wings.
Yeah. Yep. Hot wings.
Okay. We'll call it there, folks. Hopefully we'll try again next week. And we're, like I said, this is a process. We're trying to figure it out over several weeks. And hopefully you guys enjoy what we produced out there. If we said anything wrong, please leave a comment. Tell us how we messed up, because that's why we're doing this. We're trying to put our opinions out there and our ideas out there. And so you can help either use the ideas in your life and your models to see if they work, or if we're completely wrong, please let us know in the comments. All right.